A judge slapped a fine on her for a delicate silver cross necklace, assuming she was just another bystander. But when she rose and spoke, the courtroom hushed. What unfolded next left even the deputy speechless. Tamara Hensley hadn't planned on drama at the Lincoln County Courthouse. She was there for her nephew Jamal, nabbed over a petty speeding ticket that ballooned out of control. She took a day off, wore a gray sweater, skirt, and loafers, simple, respectful attire, with that tiny cross dangling quietly around her neck. It wasn't bold or showy, just a faint glimmer if you squinted. But someone noticed. The room buzzed with folks awaiting their turn, attorneys shuffling papers, deputies looming by the walls. Tamara slipped into the third row, composed, her bag resting on her knees. She gave Jamal a soft nod. He looked drained, eyes shadowed from restless nights. He didn't speak, just flashed a weary, thankful look. That was plenty. She sat still, blending into the crowd, her presence a quiet anchor for him. Judge Harold Vance strode in, stiff and stern as always. Known around Shelbyville and beyond, he was a stickler. Rumors swirled about his rigid ways. A former Marine turned legal hawk. He treated the courtroom like his kingdom. The deputy barked for order. "Before we start," Vance said, eyes sweeping the rows like a drill sergeant, "a matter of propriety." He zeroed in on Tamara. "You in gray, stand up." She blinked, startled, then rose, her pulse quickening slightly, though her stance stayed steady. "That religious trinket," he snapped, tone sharp. "It's not allowed here. This is a neutral space." $50 fine for breaching decorum. The room stilled. Some fidgeted, others averted their eyes. Tamara paused, no stranger being called out or brushed aside. Still, this caught her off guard. A fine for a necklace? She glanced at the deputy, then back at Vance. "Your Honor," she said evenly, "is that a posted rule? I'd like to see the law or guideline backing that penalty." Vance's expression didn't budge. "This is my domain. I make the rules." Tamara dipped her head slightly. "I get that, sir, but are those rules documented anywhere?" He glared, a beat too long. "Pay the fine at the clerk's or leave." A faint gasp rippled behind her. She didn't budge, didn't shout, just tilted her head a fraction. "I'm not going." An older man in a beige jacket up front raised a brow, intrigued, glancing between her and the judge. "Then you're in contempt," Vance warned. The deputy shifted, uneasy. The prosecutor set his notes down. The air thickened, not with chaos, but focus. Tamara exhaled softly. "I'm here for my nephew, Jamal Carter. He's facing charges today and asked me to be here. I'm not disrupting your honor, but I think this fine's unjust and maybe illegal." Vance leaned forward, just a touch. "You're questioning me?" She held his gaze. "I'm asking for the legal basis of your rule." He paused, a flicker, barely there, but real. He hadn't seen that coming. "Who are you?" he demanded, voice tightening. "Tamara Hensley," she answered, "and I'm a constitutional lawyer, licensed in 3 states, including Tennessee." The room split open. A collective breath sucked in. Someone muttered, "Well, damn." She went on, steady as ever. "I graduated from Yale Law in 2008. I've worked with a justice advocacy group and now lead counsel at a Nashville nonprofit. I'm here for family, but I know my rights." He could have smirked. She didn't. The silence grew dense. Vance opened his mouth, then shut it, fussing with his papers instead. He hadn't pegged her right. Tamara wasn't born rich. Raised in Tupelo, Mississippi, in a weathered clapboard house off Pine Street, her mom, Lorraine, pulled double shifts at a diner. Her dad split when she was 10. They scraped by, but had standards. Speak plain, stand tall, push back when it's wrong. Calmly, always. That shaped her. By 18, Tamara had devoured the Constitution 3 times. Not for class, just to grasp why folks like her got shortchanged in courts, shops, even pews. It wasn't rage that fueled her, but a steady burn, a need to know. People misjudged her often, not just for her dark skin or tight curls, but how they'd skim past her in boardrooms, how gray-haired lawyers called her Missy among their balding clique. She learned brilliance alone didn't cut it. Timing did. You had to let them underestimate you. Let them stumble into their own mess. When she got into Yale law, it wasn't a party, just proof. Her high school advisor had chuckled, saying law school was a long shot. Too tough. Tamara didn't argue. She outworked it. At Yale, she wasn't loud, didn't need to be. She took front row seats in every constitutional class, scribbled notes like lightning, asked questions that stumped professors. They noticed, but still saw her as a fluke. That never sat right. After graduating at 24, she skipped cushy firm jobs. She craved real stakes, real people. She spent years in Georgia defending factory workers tangled in the system, then moved to Nashville to tackle housing bias at a nonprofit. No fame, no spotlight, just results, freeing folks, saving homes, shifting lives. That silver cross? Her grandma's, handed down with a scribbled note. Wear this when you feel so low. She never took it off, not once. So when Vance pounced, treating her like some rowdy kid, it didn't shake her. It echoed every time she'd been overlooked, unseen. They expected a scene, yelling, stomping out. They got control instead, power wrapped in calm. It wasn't new. Back in 2015, in a mobile courtroom, she'd watched a public defender fumble a bail hearing. The judge ignored him. The client, a 20-year-old caught loitering, faced a $1,200 bail he couldn't pay. Tamara stood, cited 2 Alabama laws, and flipped it. The judge relented. The kid walked free that day. That's who she was. So they're in Lincoln County, fined for a necklace that held her roots. Facing a judge who thought he'd silence her, Tamara didn't waver. She stood taller. When she laid out her name, her creds, her purpose, it wasn't for Vance. It was for everyone who'd pegged her as just a relative. The room stayed quiet too long. Vance shuffled papers, stalling. She stood, hands clasped, waiting, not pushing, just present. The prosecutor perked up, fingers still on his folder. The deputy's gaze darted between them. Something tilted. The power wasn't all behind the bench anymore. Vance coughed. We'll move to the next case. He didn't revisit the fine, not yet. Everyone caught that gap, where his reprimand faded. Jamal's case came up. He stood, rumpled from lockup, glancing at Tamara with pride and nerves. She met his eyes with a steady look. Stay cool. I've got you. The public defender stepped forward. Before he could speak, Tamara moved. Your Honor, with permission, I'd like to represent Mr. Carter today. I've reviewed his charges and talked with him. He wants me as counsel. Vance blinked. You're not listed as his attorney. I've got my bar card, Tennessee license active. Check with the state bar. I'm Tamara Hensley. He paused and nodded. Go ahead. Jamal half smiled, half teared up. She touched his shoulder lightly, turning to the court with quiet command, ready to shift the tide. Mr. Carter was stopped for a busted brake light. She began, clear and firm. For the report, he was pulled out, searched without consent, no warrant, no probable cause noted. It escalated to resisting arrest when he asked why he was cuffed. He didn't yell or threaten. She slid a paper from her bag. I've filed a motion to dismiss, citing 3 Tennessee Supreme Court cases. Each rules a warrantless search like this violates the Fourth Amendment. The resisting charge lacks body cam proof. The room froze again. Vance scowled, took the motion from the clerk, and read fast, jaw tight. Tamara stood silent, giving him space to digest but not to ignore her. People shifted, not bored, riveted. This wasn't the woman they'd thought was in hot water minutes ago. She was something else now. Vance looked up, eyes sharp. You wrote this yourself? Yes, last night, after reviewing the report and talking with Mr. Carter. He tapped the paper, testing her, but she didn't flinch. You're not with a firm? I'm with a civil rights nonprofit, due process, housing bias, wrongful convictions. He studied her. Your client's clean, no priors, no violence. An HVAC tech, just heading to a job. Another pause stretched. Vance turned to the prosecutor. State stance. The man hesitated. We drop resisting, keep the traffic violation. Tamara cut in, firm. Only if the court admits the search was illegal. Mr. Carter deserves that recorded. Bold, No hesitation, just law-backed reason staring Vance down. The courtroom wasn't used to this. A black woman unraveling rules like it was nothing, no fury, no showboating, just facts. Vance stared, glasses glinting. Motion granted. Resistings dropped, traffic stays, a warning, no fine. Tamara nodded, no gloating. She turned to Jamal. You're good to go. He froze, then stepped free, hugging her tight. Whispers sparked, not about the case, about her. But Tamara didn't sit. She faced the bench again, voice level. Your Honor, I'd like to address that fine from earlier. Vance jolted, like he'd forgotten. You're bringing that up now? Yes, sir. You said religious items aren't allowed, but absent martial law, the First Amendment holds. Banning a small cross, worn by someone not even speaking then, isn't neutral, it's selective. The room went dead quiet. She stepped closer. There's no posted policy, no sign, no warning given. You find me without law, precedent, or asking my purpose here. Vance shifted, control slipping. Something flickered in his eyes. Doubt, maybe unease. Are you saying I broke your rights? He asked. Tamara didn't blink. I'm stating facts. I'm asking the fine be lifted, and the records show this was improper. The prosecutor glanced up, then down. The deputy stood rigid, hands clasped. Vance stared hard and long, then said, Fines withdrawn. It won't be noted. She nodded. Thank you, Your Honor. She walked back, sat, and opened her notebook. Whispers grew, not confusion now, but awe. The judge's fire had dimmed, and she'd lit something else. You drafted this yourself? Vance asked, on emotion. Yes, Tamara replied, last night, after digging into the police report in Jamal's account. No firm. I'm with a civil rights nonprofit. Due process. Housing bias. Wrongful arrests. He tapped the desk. Your client's got no record. Works as an HVAC tech. Just try and clock in. Silence hung. He faced the prosecutor. State's view? A pause. Drop resisting. Keep the ticket. Tamara pressed. Only if the illegal search is noted. Jamal deserved that clarity. It was daring, no apology, just law-driven logic. Vance stared, a black woman unweaving his rules with calm precision, no ego. He adjusted his glasses. Motion granted. Resisting's gone, tickets a warning, no fine. Tamara nodded, no fanfare. You're free, she told Jamal. He hesitated, then hugged her, relief breaking through. Whispers flared, not about the case, about her, but she turned back to Vance. Your Honor, about that earlier fine. He flinched, caught off guard. Yes, sir, she said, steady. I'd like it formally contested. You reopening that? He asked, waking up fast. Yes, you banned religious items, but the First Amendment stands unless this court's under martial law. A tiny cross, worn quietly, isn't disruption, it's expression. Banning it isn't neutral, it's bias. The room stilled. No policies posted, no notice given. You find me without basis or context. Vance shifted, authority fraying. His eyes flickered. Calculation, maybe regret. You're claiming I violated your rights? I'm stating facts, asking the fine be dropped and recorded as improper. He stared, then relented. Fines lifted. It won't show. Tamara nodded. Thank you, Your Honor. She sat, pulled out her notebook, and flipped to a blank page. Whispers turned to curiosity, respect. A woman behind her murmured, Who's that? Vance slowed, reviewing files with new care. His spark against her necklace had morphed into something weightier. The prosecutor muttered to the deputy, who jotted a note. Eyes drifted to Tamara, the rhythm off, attention now hers, not the docket's. 30 minutes later, Vance called a recess, vanishing to a side door without a word. Tamara stayed put. The deputy approached, voice low. Ma'am, can I ask something? She turned slightly. Sure. Did you expect that with the fine, all this? She gave a faint laugh. No, but I wasn't letting it stand. He scratched his neck. 9 years here, never seen him fold like that. He's not bad, she said softly, but unchecked power's risky. He nodded, not just agreeing, getting it. Down the hall, two clerks whispered. The younger one rattled, said she listed every case, schooled him, a Yale lawyer here for her nephew. They marveled, shaking heads. Yet Tamara wasn't basking. She didn't crave humiliation for Vance, just fairness. When he returned, his posture softened, less rigid, more pensive. He sat, glasses adjusted, voice quieter. He called the next case, but something had shifted. He wasn't gripping control, so tight. Tamara saw it. Men in power wrestling with an unexpected truth. Court-wrapped, Vance lingered at the bench, staring ahead. Tamara grabbed her bag, nearing the exit when he called, "Ms. Hensley." She paused, face neutral. He stepped down, deliberate. "A word, if you'll allow." The deputy shifted, unsure. She nodded, glancing at Jamal. 5 minutes, she whispered. Vance didn't go to chambers. They stood aside, semi-private. He cleared his throat. "I owe you an apology." She waited, letting him speak. "I misjudged you, your intent, your place. I was wrong." "I'm used to it," she said, gentle but firm. He winced. "That's the issue, isn't it? You shouldn't be." Silence settled. 35 years on this bench, he said. "I've leaned on order, neutrality. But you show me what I call neutral. Might just suit those already in charge." That hit deep. Tamara met his gaze. No gloating, just truth. "I don't expect pardon," he added. "But I won't forget this." She nodded faintly. "That's all I wanted." She turned, but he spoke again. "If you're ever back in Shelbyville, I'd welcome you arguing here, officially." That caught her off guard. "Hope I don't need to," she said, half smiling. They both got the weight. Outside, the sun climbed, heat sticking to the air. Jamal waited by the curb, phone in hand. Seeing her, he grinned. "What was that in there?" She shrugged, fishing out keys. "A civics crash course." "No, you shut down a judge in his own turf." She eyed him. "Don't hype it. I spoke when I had to." "You didn't rehearse that?" he teased. "No," she chuckled, "but maybe I should jot it down." A reporter from the Shelbyville Gazette approached. "Recorder ready." "Ms. Hensley, I saw it all. Readers would love your take." "Interview?" She glanced at Jamal, then the reporter. "I'll consider it." He handed her a card. "You stirred thoughts today, rare in court." As they walked off, Jamal said, "They'll talk about this." She shrugged. "Let them." But the ripple was already spreading beyond those walls. By the time they reached Jamal's place on Shelbyville's east side, his phone buzzed nonstop. Texts, calls, even messages from cousins in Knoxville. A buddy sent a blog link. Lawyer quietly appends court bias. Judge backs off fine. Case tossed. Jamal gaped. "It's online already." Tamara smiled thinly. "Told you." People chatter, especially when you don't play their script. She didn't chase the spotlight. Never had. But sometimes it found you when you stood firm without the luxury of fading out. That night, at her Nashville apartment, she sipped coffee. The silver cross still at her neck. Her inbox swelled. Friends, strangers, legal blogs recapping the day. A Twitter clip circulated. "This is how you fix wrong without yelling." She ignored it, mulling Vance's words. "What I call neutral might just suit those in charge." That lingered. She recalled her grandma's hand in hers at dusk service. The preacher saying, "Standing quiet can roar louder than shouting." Back then it was pretty, now it was real. Next day, she returned to her nonprofit desk in Nashville. No fanfare, no fuss, just an assistant sliding her a case file on a lease dispute. She liked it that way. But word crept on. A week later, Tennessee Tech's law program rang. They'd planned a forum on courtroom fairness and bias. Someone pitched her as a speaker. She nearly declined, then remembered those eyes in the gallery, seeing her anew. She said yes, not for glory, for them. 2 weeks after, a pastor from a Clarksville church called. Could she talk to their teens about law? Its promise, its fairness, its accountability? She agreed. She kept agreeing, not for fame, but because the tale wasn't hers alone anymore. It belonged to every soul who'd sat in the courtroom's back row, feeling unheard. She never told Vance, but that day nudged her too. She wondered if he replayed it, if he saw folks in his court with fresher eyes, more care, less haste. One Friday, leaving work, she found an envelope on her door. No sender, just her name typed crisp. Inside a note, Ms. Hensley, I've updated courtroom rules. Religious items, unless disruptive, won't be barred. HV, no more just initials, but enough. She tucked it into her grandma's hymnal. Tamara didn't want cheers. She wanted equity. Some tales flare and fade fast. Others sink deep, nudging how folks see the world, even if they never meet the one who sparked it. For her, that courtroom wasn't a peak, just a page in a bigger book, one of unseen choices. Late nights fighting shady evictions, fielding calls from moms whose kids were jailed without cause, or driving hours to a courthouse in Franklin to watch a judge rumored to bully the poor. She'd sit silent, take notes, spot patterns. When asked how she kept cool under disrespect, she'd say, I know my weight. I don't need to flaunt it to prove it's there. That day didn't remake her. It reaffirmed why she picked this path. Not fame, not payback, but dignity. She didn't aim to shame Vance, just to make him pause. And she had. Months later, at a Memphis charter school, a teen girl asked, weren't you the one who sassed a judge and made him look dumb? Tamara smiled. I didn't sass, I spoke up. Didn't make him dumb, just gave him room to rethink. The girl squinted. Same thing, not even close. Some giggled, but a few listened hard. Those were her audience. She added, it's not about winning fights. It's about gaining ground so the next person doesn't have to scrap the same way. That stuck. She knew the buzz, tweets, blogs, clips would fade. But someone would recall a gallery soul who'd felt small, then left taller. That sufficed. Some storm rooms, demanding eyes. Tamara walked in, spoke clear, and left the space altered, quietly with purpose, not noise. As for that silver cross, she wore it daily. If another court dared challenge it, she'd be ready. There'd always be someone trying to box you into their ease, and always a choice, shrink or rise, hush or speak. She rose, not with fanfare but facts, not pride but intent. That's why folks remembered, not that she triumphed, but how. Her grandma's voice echoed, wear this when you feel solo. She never felt alone with it on. Back in Shelbyville, Vance sat longer his bench some days. Papers untouched. He'd told her he wouldn't forget. Maybe he hadn't. She pictured him peering at defendants with a softer edge, weighing their stories, not just their slots on his docket. She hoped so. Her nonprofit kept humming. Cases piled, no headlines, just lives nudged right. A colleague once asked why she didn't crow about that day. Didn't do it for me, she said. Did it for who's next. The tale spread anyway. A law prof emailed, citing her in a lecture. A kid from Jamal's block asked if she'd really beat a judge. She laughed it off. But that moment, standing firm, cross gleaming, lived on in whispers, not because she sought it, but because it proved something. Calm can shift a room as sure as thunder. She'd stood for Jamal, for herself, for every unseen face. And that was enough to carry forward. A week later, Belmont University's law faculty called. They were hosting a public talk on courtroom ethics and bias. Someone suggested Tamara speak. She hesitated, nearly passed, then recalled those gallery gazes shifting, seeing her beyond just Jamal's aunt. She agreed, not for applause, but for them. 2 weeks on, a pastor from a Gallatin church asked her to address their youth about law, its shield, its fairness, its need for accountability. She said yes, not for spotlight, but for every kid who'd felt courts didn't hear them. The story wasn't hers alone now. It belonged to anyone who'd sat silent in a courtroom's shadows, thinking their voice wouldn't count. She never told Vance, but that day nudged her too. She pondered if he lingered on it, if he scanned his room with more pause, less rush. Maybe he did. One Friday, exiting her Nashville office, she found an envelope taped to her door. No sender, just her name typed clean. Inside, a brief note waited, and signed but clear, hinting at a shift she'd sparked. It read, Ms. Hensley, I've amended courtroom conduct rules. Religious items, unless disruptive, are now allowed. HV. No flourish, just initials, but it landed. She slid it into her grandma's hymnal. Tamara didn't chase praise. She sought justice. Some tales blaze bright then vanish. Others root deep, tilting how folks see things, even if they never meet the spark. For her, that courtroom was no finale, just a thread in a broader weave of quiet stands, unseen fights, and steady purpose she'd carried since youth. That we've held late nights battling crooked landlords, calls from moms whose sons languish without bail, drives to a Clarksville court to why a judge harsh on the broke. She'd sit, note patterns, say nothing, yet, asked how she stayed steady when slighted. She'd reply, I know my load. I don't need to flash it to prove it's real. That day didn't forge her. It echoed why she chose this. Dignity, not drama. She didn't want Vance humbled, just awake. And he blinked. Months later, speaking to teens at a Nashville public school, one girl piped up, Weren't you that lady who roasted a judge and made him look silly? Tamara grinned. I didn't roast. I stepped up, didn't make him silly, just gave him a chance to reflect. The girl frowned. Same deal. Not a bit. A few chuckled, but some leaned in. Those were her people. It's not about besting someone, she said, but clearing a path so the next don't have to claw through the same mess. That sank in, like it did for her. The hype, posts, clips, blogs would fade, but someone would hold it. A soul in the crowd who'd felt erased, then stood straighter. That was plenty. Some barge in, craving eyes. Tamara entered, spoke true, and left the air different, with intent, not noise. The silver cross stayed on a quiet tether. If another court tested it, she'd rise again. There'd always be folks shrinking you to fit their ease, and always a call, bend or hold firm. She held firm, with facts over flair, purpose over pride. That's what stuck. Not that she prevailed, but how? Her grandma's note, wear this when you feel solo, hummed in her bones. She never did. Vance might have softened, peering at his bench with new weight. She hoped so. Her nonprofit churned on, cases, not fanfare. A co-worker once asked why she didn't tout that day. Wasn't for me, she said. Was for who's coming. The tale rippled, not loud, but deep. Proof calm could carve change. It lived in a clerk's hushed awe, a teen's sparked eyes, a judge's revised rule. The buzz would dim, but its echo wouldn't. She pictured Jamal, free now, telling it with a grin. She didn't need the stage, just a shift, some demand to be seen. Tamara spoke, stood, and let the room reshape itself. That day, cross glinting, wasn't her crown. It was her root. Another chance to stand, not shout, and nudge the world a fraction fairer for the next in line. If this stirred you, if it sparked a thought, a feeling of pause, don't bottle it. Pass it on. Share it wide. Carry it out. You never know when your steady voice might till a space, might lift a head, might rewrite a rule. Tamara didn't plan to be heard that day, but she was, and in that quiet stand, she proved something timeless. Strength doesn't need volume, just clarity. So take it, use it, because the next room might be yours to change. In a Shelbyville courtroom, Tamara Hensley stood, silver cross glinting, as Judge Vance's gavel threatened to crush her quiet dignity over a $50 fine. What unfolded was no mere spat. It was a thunderclap of truth, shaking the room's dusty air. Lesson 1. Power bows to knowledge when you wield it with steel-clad calm. Tamara, a Yale-trained lawyer from Tupelo's weather streets, didn't shout or storm. She sliced through Vance's rule with razor-sharp law, citing the First Amendment like a blade. At 5'4", she towered over his bench, proving you don't need volume when your facts roar. The deputy's jaw tightened, the gallery's whispers swelled. Here was a black woman, 43, rewriting the script in a space built to shrink her. Lesson 2. Standing firm carves paths for the unseen. She wasn't just saving Jamal, her HVAC tech nephew, from a crooked charge 30 miles from Nashville. She was etching a line for every soul who'd sat in those pews, 200 pounds of hope in their chests, thinking no one heard them. When Vance backpedaled, scribbling new rules after 35 years. It wasn't her victory lap. It was a crack in the wall for the next weary face. Picture it. Her grandma's cross, a 2-inch heirloom, sparking a reckoning that hit Shelbyville's Gazette and rippled 150 miles to Clarksville's youth. Tamara didn't crave the spotlight. She demanded fairness, her voice a steady torch in a 90-degree Tennessee haze. This wasn't a tale of noise. It was grit, a lesson in wielding your weight without throwing it, and a reminder that one stand can shift a room, a rule, a world for those 10 steps behind you. What would you do if a judge fined you for something as personal as Tamara's silver cross? Shrink or stand tall? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, and comment to join the convo. Subscribe to my YouTube channel for more stories of grit and justice that'll inspire you to speak up and make a difference. New value-packed videos drop every week.